I'm Malvika, in-house editor for Sam Weeks Consulting and MBAconsultant.com. One of the things I do here is convert resumes to the MBA format. And in this video, I'll show you some of the most common mistakes that we see in applicant resumes and how to fix them. For starters, your MBA resume should not be the same as your job resume. So while your job resume focuses on listing technical skills that you need for a target job, your MBA resume uses a different structure. It focuses on more MBA related skills like leadership or strategic thinking. These are skills that you'll need in the MBA classroom. Now here you can see on the left that we have a resume for a client, Carl Jimenez, who has a background in management consulting. Now let's see how we can improve his resume and build it from scratch in the MBA format on the right. First, check if your target schools have a recommended resume format that they ask applicants to use. Some examples that come to mind are Oxford and INSEAD. However, if your target school doesn't have its own template, don't take this as free rein to use a creative template, like we see on the left. And in this video, I'll show you how to create a generic template that we use at SWC and MBAconsultant.com that you can't go wrong with. First, let's check our margins. You'll want to use a 0.5 margin on all sides to maximize the spacing for your resume. You can check this in your page setup. Now this is at 1 throughout, so let's change that. And that's done. Now we'll want to bring over our contact details. I'm going to put this name in bold, center it, and for things like names, we want a size 14. For section titles like experience, we'll use size 12, and for the rest of the text, we'll want to use a size 10, 10.5, or 11. For my resume, I'm choosing to use size 11. Now let's add our contact details here in one line to optimize space. We're going to start with location. Change that to our recommended font and font size, and then add a divider, add in our email. Remember to use a professional email address if possible. If you can't, because you're unemployed, or if you want discretion from your employer, use a professional looking personal email ID. Don't use that creative email ID that you created when you were 14. It will not give off a good impression. Now next, we'll add a divider again and add in our phone number. And finally, we also want to add in a LinkedIn link. Let's put all of that at 11 times the Roman and center it. There we go. We have our contact details in place. Notice how we're not bringing the photo over, and in some places it's common to add a photo to a job resume, but that isn't the case for MBA applications. Don't include a photo or any other potentially discriminatory information such as age, your race, or your sexual orientation. Now, let's begin with each section. An MBA resume is typically divided into 3 sections: education, professional experience, and additional information. We're going to start with education. The section title here, bold that. That's going to be in font size 12. Next, we'll want to create a divider. Now we want to use a spacing of font size 6 between lines to optimize our real estate here. So let's do that. Let's change that to 6. There we go. We're going to change back to our size 11, left align that and start adding our details. First is our university name. Notice how this is in bold. We'll want to use a bold font for section titles for any organization names and for university names and for any other main sort of titles here. So we're going to do University of Chicago. We'll add tab stops, adding our location. We'll also add our degree name. It's nice to use italics to write your degree title or your job titles as well. So let's put that in there. And finally, we'll want to specify the date of our matriculation and our graduation. That includes month and year. So as you can see here, only years are given. Let's fix that. Good. Now let's create bullet points for our GPA. We'll want to add any honors, distinctions, and scholarships that we received as well. Including your GPA is optional. You may not want to include it if your grades are low. You'll have to state it separately in your portal anyway, but in case it's low, you probably want to leave that out of your resume. That's up to you. Here we're going to add a bullet point and put our GPA in. Now our bullet points have to be spaced appropriately. That's 0.19 for the bullet and 0.0 for spacing between the bullet and the text. Now we're going to follow this alignment throughout. So yeah, there we go. We've got our GPA. Any details here? Say you're an honors student, Carl is. So we're going to add that here with a full stop. Next, any extracurricular achievements during your university time that ended while you were still at university. We'll want to add those here, including any distinctions and scholarships like I mentioned previously. So Carl did win a competition then and published a paper on it. We'll add that in here as well. You can also see in his extracurriculars, he was a U Chicago swimming and diving team member. Now you can choose to add this in your additional information. You may also want to include it here. That's up to you. We're going to add it in our additional information. And there you go. That's your education section done. Now we want to title our next section, put that in bold, center that, copy that over, and now we'll start building out our professional experience section. So in our professional experience section, let's move that to font 12 to denote a section title, and let's start building each role. Now, business schools want to see career progression in your professional journey. So if you held more than one position in a firm, it's wise to enter them as separate entries for each position, with titles, dates, and bullet points of responsibilities, even if these roles were at the same organization. Like as you can see in Carl's resume on the left, he's clubbed his analyst and senior analyst roles into one. This is something that does happen with consultants a lot. You choose to write project by project instead of dividing your projects into roles. What we're going to do is we're going to split these into two. So first, let's write the name of your workplace. Again, use tab stops. I'm going to copy over your role, put that in italics, use tab stops again. Now here we can see that the dates cover both roles from your analyst to your senior analyst position. We want to split that up into the senior analyst dates, month and year. Good. And now we want to write it role by role. Now this is going to be a very clear presentation style, which makes it immediately obvious that Carl has been promoted, and it will help to demonstrate how his responsibilities have grown over time. Here I can't really see any sort of, he has mentioned that he's been promoted 6 months ahead of schedule, but all of these responsibilities are clubbed into one, and I cannot see the increasing impact that he has had with each role. So here I'm going to want to start adding bullet points from his one role of senior analyst. I'm going to put that into bullets. And like we did previously, we want to align the bullets this way. There we go. And let's do that for his analyst role as well. Again, add tab stops, add your dates, put this into italics, and divide your responsibilities according to what you did in your previous role. And similarly, we'll want to build out his summer analyst role at MetLife Inc. Put that in bold, tab stops, location, unbold that, make sure it's all aligned. Title of your role, summer analyst. I'm putting this into italics. Again, I'm going to add some tab stops for the date, which is mentioned here with months. Good. And I'm copying over responsibilities as well. And that's our professional experience section built out. Now let's look at each bullet point in closer detail. Also note that some applicants feel the need to emphasize key projects or responsibilities by highlighting them, making the text bold like this, but that's counterproductive. We don't recommend that. It makes your resume look messy. So make sure that you remove any bolded or highlighted areas in your bullet points when you build your MBA resume. Now, the bullet points on your MBA resume should tell the reader which skill you used, where you used that skill, and a piece of evidence that shows how well you used it. And that's why we recommend using the ACE structure for each bullet points. ACE refers to action, context, and end result. Now let's look at the ACE structure in our bullet points here on the right. So in each bullet point, you want to start with an action verb in the past tense. This could be managed, accelerated, redesigned, structured, spearheaded. Your action verb should demonstrate the skill that you used in that task. So here you can see that Carl has written about being promoted 6 months ahead of schedule based on performance reviews. So he's got his action verb in place. Next, you want to add context. C. Add context to explain where and why you contributed to the task or project. Um, Now you can see he was promoted 6 months ahead of schedule based on performance reviews. That's your context as well. This gives you an idea of, that his reviews were so good that he was promoted ahead of schedule. Now, finally, for part E, which is end result, you want to quantify the results of the project or task. Business schools appreciate outcome oriented leaders, so make sure that you have the data that backs up your achievements. Now, note that not every, like we understand, not every task can be quantified, but you should do this where possible. So for this one, I'm going to add some more detail to make the scale of his achievement clearer. Now you can see by 5 consulting managers across 14 projects. Now this gives us a better idea of how in depth his performance reviews were, how many projects he did, and why he was promoted 6 months ahead of schedule because he had consensus from 5 consulting managers. Next, let's look at the ACE structure in bullet point 2 as well. Again, you want to start with an action verb. You don't want to start with I. And you also want to note that resumes are not the place to use flowery prose. So you want to avoid using words like significantly, successfully, and you want to use very specific, quantified achievements or outcomes instead. The more you quantify details like the size of the project, timelines, your team size, your revenue, time commitments, the more impact that you can convey in your resume. You don't need to tell them, you simply need to show them. So we are going to remove the word expertly from here. And we're going to start with managed, an action verb in the past tense, which demonstrates what skill you used. So managed a team of 5 analysts to assess impact of a $1 billion merger of 2 media corporations. It tells you what you did. It doesn't tell you why. It doesn't tell you what impact that this task had on the larger organization. So let's fix that. Let's look at the bullet point now with the A structure in mind. So Carl managed a team of 5 analysts to assess the impact of a $1 billion merger of two media corporations and identified flaws in the opposing analysts' market share calculations. So his A action verb, he managed a team, quantified it of 5 analysts to assess. Now the context is he did it to assess the impact of a merger of two media corporations, and he identified flaws in the opposing analysts' market share calculations. And finally, the end result, what did this do? It mitigated impact from the firm's anti-competitive agreement by 15%. Now there's plenty of data in here. It gives you exactly the scale of Carl's impact on his organization. Now let's do this for the other bullet points as well. We're changing it back to ACE. You designed a strategy framework for a client for whom you optimized operations, saved 30 million annually is your end result. Next, again, don't want to start with telecommunications client. We think there's a better way to say this. Found $25 million opportunity. Let's change that. And similarly for the other bullet points as well. And good. We've got our A structure bullet points for our senior analyst role. Let's do the same for our analyst role. Now you can see here that a lot of the bullet points are overlapping with each other in terms of the action verb used. There's a lot of lead happening here. Let's make that more specific to the task and also just diversify the verbs that we're using to make the resume more impactful. So instead of led, I'm using the word spearheaded. Instead of saying again that I led a team of 6 interns, I'm going to say that Carl was selected by management to mentor a team of 6 interns and develop and lead a technical training program. Again, I'm going to flesh this out a little bit more and really specify the impact here among a 36-person team across 8 offices. The white paper was written, helped earn $4 million, and it resulted in being retained by one of the highest billing clients of the firm. And there you go, that's your professional experience done for your senior analyst and analyst role. Next, let's do the same for his internship at MetLife Inc. as a summer analyst. Using the A structure here. Here as well, fixing bullet points, cleaning that up. Now make sure that you've got even spacing throughout. And finally, let's add in our additional section. Put that in caps, bold it, center it, add the divider, make sure the spacing is at 6. here as well. Good. And now let's copy over the extracurricular section from Carl's resume here. Your additional section can include things like your skills, the languages you speak, any technical skills that you have, any other extracurriculars that you do outside of work, including community engagements, volunteer work, or any sports or interests that you have. Now let's align the bullet points here. And flesh these out. Now you can see that Carl has something called the Young Leaders group here. We know that he holds a leadership position here. Now when it comes to leadership positions, you could have a separate section for positions of responsibility. Now these positions could be in an extracurricular, in an academic institution, or at your workplace. If you have created impact of some sort in a leadership role, you may want to add it in a separate section. So let's create a separate section for leadership above your additional. Following the same steps that we did before. And we can add it in the same format that we've done our professional experience in. We are going to bold the title of the group, add our tab stops, mention where this took place. Next, we're going to add in the role held. In this case, Carl was lead mentor. Again, tab stops. Add your dates of involvement. And your bullet points. Similarly, in an A structure, just as your professional experience, you want to add in the impact that you managed to have in this position. And there you have it. You have your leadership experience position as well. We can take that out from additional. So that leaves us with some points here. I'm going to put that at 6 again. And we're going to structure this by category. So I'm going to start with languages spoken. You'll want to classify these according to proficiency. So in Carl's case, he speaks English fluently and Spanish also fluently. Put a full stop there like we've done for each point, each bullet above. And we're going to bold the category title. Next, we're going to add his skills. You may have noticed on the left here that he's added his skills in this format, but these are skills that you can already see in his bullet points above in the professional experience, that he has done his data analysis, he's good at statistics, and he's good at project management. MS Office is a basic skill. We don't want to transfer that over here. So what we're going to do is be a bit more specific about his data analysis and his statistical skills and add in exactly what he's done. like so. Next, we can talk about his sporting achievements. Again, we'll want to be a bit more specific, include your dates as well in this format. And finally, his interests. Applicants often add their interests like this: chess, poetry, travel, just very basic, going to the gym, or cooking, painting. These aren't very interesting or impactful. They don't tell you anything about the applicant. Job applications don't really care about your interests outside of the office, so perhaps writing them in this format might work there, but business schools certainly do. Don't just write a laundry list of hobbies. Choose 2 to 3 hobbies instead and consider adding specific details to make your hobbies stand out. So let's build out his interests section. Just like that. And take it out from the bottom there. Let's read that. Now, Carl plays online chess competitively. Again, he's quantified that top 5% of global players. He likes to compare Spanish romantic and realist poets, and he likes to travel to discover new foods. Even specified that there as well. We can see that our resume has landed at a clean 1 page. We're going to remove all our extra spaces there. And finally, just do final checks with spacing, with margins. And we'll want to proofread this once, check our formatting, check our punctuation to make sure that our MBA resume is complete. Now let's look at these resumes side by side. We can see how the MBA resume saves space, removes vague terms, and adds crucial detail. It gives each bullet point a clear structure to measure impact, and it uses a clean style to avoid any crowding. If you want to create your own MBA resume, you can download the generic template on the right on Sam Weeks Consulting and mbaconsultant.com. Good luck!